When the Greeks needed a word to describe the business of government, they selected, and with what inspiration, economikos, which was their word for housekeeping and is now our word, economics. Housekeeping still remains the most important business of the world. It engages the hearts and minds of more people and calls for higher qualities than any other occupation. Each woman faces it single-handed. She must know how to cook, know food. She must know how to set her table attractively. She must know how to make her home comfortable and inviting. She must know the worth of labor-saving devices and how best to conserve her time and energy. She must know clothes, how to buy and how to make them. She must face death to bring children into the world. She must raise them, care for them, and pilot them safely to the threshold of manhood and womanhood. To her husband, she must be a companion, a sweetheart, a wife, and a mother. She must stir his ambition, pull him through failure, and keep success from hurting him. She must make social contacts. She must widen her own horizon and find time for culture.
We shall be happy to consider it. With best wishes, sincerely. Now will you please take these notes, Miss Jackson? I like to think of an editor as a person dwelling in a crystal prison. Before him passes the pageant of life in all its colors, costumes, and customs. The crystal both absorbs and reflects the figures in the passing parade. Yet what is most important to that man within is not himself, but the movement and action, the sound and the fury before him. When to enlighten, where to inspire, what to overlook, how to encourage. These are an editor's problems as life passes in review. It is our never-changing desire to anticipate the ever-changing needs of American women that makes McCall's the vital, dramatic magazine it is. It's really 3 magazines in one: romance, homemaking, style and beauty. As events and emotions move swiftly, so McCall's moves to meet them. But one thing never changes. The identity of McCall, caught by Nisa McMean, who has been doing our covers for more than 10 years.
Bring your head just a little, Prudence, will you, please, and smile. All right, rest. You want to come and look at this? How do you like it?
Fine.
One of the most tantalizing urges in life is to see ourselves as others see us. We most nearly achieve that ambition in the reading of good fiction. The joy of recognizing ourselves and our friends as characters in a story has converted many a drab hour into a moment of enchantment. Let us for a moment Call the characters to life in a typical McCall serial, Plain Nights by Beatrice Burton Morgan.
That's certainly some doctor they've sent us. He looks like a boy to me.
So he must know his business, though. Otherwise, he wouldn't be with the medical group.
I do hope Rex will be all right. I'm always afraid of lockjaw in a case like this.
Don't you worry about Rex, Mom. What's a nail in his foot when you think of all the perfectly awful things that have happened to him? The time he fell off the telegraph pole and the winter he had scarlet fever and pneumonia and we were...
Mrs. Ludlow, will you please come in now?
Rex, are you all right?
Oh, I'm all right, Mom.
It wasn't a nail. It was this piece of wood. It had penetrated right to the bone, this great toe. This young scout let me probe for it without letting out a single yip. I wouldn't smoke those things, Rex. Not at your age. You have a fine big body and you want to take care of it. Let it grow for the next few years. Height and width are fine things for a man to have. I know because I don't have either.
That's right, Doc. You give him a good talking to. We've all told Rex he's too young to smoke, but he won't listen to us. We're just his family, and we don't know anything.
Is that so? I'll be back in the morning. I want to keep that place in his foot open for the next few days, till we know there's no danger of infection. Good night.
Good night.
Good
Come
night.
on, Doc.
He's a nice little man, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's little, all right. But boy, there's plenty of strength in one of those paws of his. You should have seen him hold me down so I couldn't even budge while he pulled that piece of wood out. Say, beautiful. You didn't make such a big hit, did you? Oh, I watched you rolling your eyes almost out of your head. But you might just as well have saved him to read the newspaper. He didn't even see you, darling.
Well, there he is. There's the kind of man I've been looking for. The sort of man I want for each of you. Earnest, smart, good-looking. The sort of man who wants to marry and settle down. None of your fly-by-nights like that Joe Avery who takes up all of Ethel's time. I gather he doesn't know many people, so I've asked him to have supper with us Sunday night.
Oh, Mother.
Well, I've done my part. The rest is up to you. There's a husband, and a good one for one of you, if you can land him.
He's your type, Al. All brain. You work on it. I prefer a little more brawn myself.
Will you have potatoes, Alice?
You know I never eat potatoes, Carolyn.
Say, how about some of that good apple pie tomorrow night, sis?
Yes, Rex, did you like
Oh,
that?
I thought it was swell.
Caroline, what on earth's all that stuff piled on the bed in there? Suitcases, books, bundles.
I meant to tell you all about that after dinner. I hope you'll take it in the right spirit. I told Dr. Dudley he could have that room for a day or two. Those are his things in there.
Dr. Dudley? Are you crazy, Caroline? What do you mean?
Well, it's perfectly simple. He came here this afternoon with all his luggage piled in that little bus of his. His landlady suddenly decided to close her house and he had no place to go.
And all the other hundreds of hotels and boarding houses are closed too, I suppose? Oh, Carolyn, I rarely try to interfere with the way you run the house, but this is too much. Asking a strange man here to spend the night. Particularly a man who's perfectly able to take care of himself.
That's just the point. He isn't able to. If you'd seen him this afternoon all upset because he was due to help with an operation at the hospital and then get back to the medical bureau at 6 o'clock, you'd know why I told him he could stay here.
She has a crush on him, of course. He's been coming here all week and she's fallen for him. That can be the only explanation of what she's done.
What difference can it make to you, his being here? You're never at home except to sleep and powder your face to go out anyhow. And here's Alice, going away in a few days to spend the whole summer at school. How can it inconvenience her if the poor man stays here until he finds a place to live?
Well, it can inconvenience me. Here I've invited Hugh Corning for dinner tomorrow night. He's the first good-looking man I've met in years with money enough to be interesting, and Caroline goes and does this. Hugh will think we're running a boarding house.
Yes, it's all right for you to invite people here, but it's different when I do it. You all hop all over me. Girls. And I suppose you expect me to work for you all day tomorrow the way I always do when you bring your boyfriends around to impress them. Well, I'm not going to do it. You can get somebody else for your Nubian slaves. I'm sick and tired of it.
I'm sorry, but the paint on the front porch is still wet.
Land sakes, Miss Ludlow. That's the first time I ever seen Miss Caroline raise up on her hind legs and express herself like she did at dinner tonight.
It looks to me like something going to happen in this house for long. Things are sure picking up with all these men hanging around. Not to mention that little doctor. Of course, he don't count. Looks to me like maybe Miss Ethel, she's going to marry that high-up rich man, Mr. Conan, what's been driving her home at nights. Looks to me like she doesn't give that Mr. Avery the hink-a-dink.
I suppose you can use these, Miami?
Yes, ma'am, Miss Ludlow. Thank you. You sure got a mighty pretty daughter, that Miss Ethel. And that Miss Alice. I ain't never seen nobody smarter than Miss Alice. You can just look at her and see she's smarter than mustard. You know, maybe that Mr. Conan like mustard. They say it is men what slips hard for gals what's got a head full of book stuff. You know, Miss Ludlow, maybe that doctor, he ain't out of things at that. Because he's got brains. And Miss Alice, she got brains. Lord, but that Miss Caroline. No, Miss Ludlow. You know, Miss Caroline, she ain't so pretty. And she ain't so pushing. But she's always a sweet-talking folks in her. Shine them up to themselves. And I always say when a woman knows how to do that, she don't need nothing else in this world. Because she's just plain nice. Go on, Fly. He done gone to heaven. Yes, ma'am, Miss Ludlow. You know, this is all going to be good to watch. And I sure aiming to stick around close to see how it's going to turn out.